And then we have Michele Bachmann. Michele Bachmann now has taken to just lying. I mean, literally, Michele Bachmann at this point is just making stuff up with no basis in reality. She'll just make stuff up out of thin air, and you know what? She's actually starting to get called on it, and it doesn't faze her in the least. I mean, not even the tiniest bit. What do we have? She was first talking about John Wayne Gacy, the clown serial killer, instead of John Wayne. She was asked about a number of different things by Bob Schieffer, which were by PolitiFact identified as just flat out lies, and she just stuck with it. I mean, listen to this. Listen to Michele Bachmann, my number 2 most incompetent Republican presidential candidate at this point. She doesn't care. She'll just keep on lying to cover lies.
I want to ask you about something else. A lot of your critics say you have been very fast and loose with the truth. You know, the PolitiFact, which is a website that won a Pulitzer, did an analysis of 23 statements that you made recently. Of these 23, only one they said was completely true. 7 they called pants on fire kind of falsehoods. 4 were barely true, and 2 were half true. How do you answer that criticism? Because here's one of them. You know, you said on the record there'd been only 1 offshore oil drilling permit during the Obama administration, and in fact at that time there'd been 270. How do you explain that?
I mean, let's give the woman a break. She was only off by 269,000%.
You know, I think that what's clear more than anything is the fact that President Obama has not been issuing the permits that he should have been issuing on offshore drilling.
Well,
that's why we're in the problem we're in
now.
Well,
at that time there'd been 200 and something, and you said there'd been only 1.
But as far as drilling goes, we hadn't been drilling what we need to. That's why we just saw this week.
That's different, isn't it?
Well, that's why this week it's ironic and sad that the president released all of the oil from the strategic oil reserve, because the president doesn't have an energy policy.
Do you think that was a good move?
He has a politically correct environmental policy.
Was that a good thing?
Right, so everything she's saying here is just not true. The president has no energy policy? Of course he does. What is she talking about? Why would she have he has no energy policy?
Even if he had no energy policy, that would be his energy policy.
It would be having no policy,
right.
Absolutely. It's ironic. It really is ironic. And I don't know what that means. Apparently it's a cross between irony and a moron. I don't even know what that means. What's ironic? But it is.
I don't know.
So Michele Bachmann just continuing to lie. She's just making stuff up.
Perhaps ironic means not true.
Maybe that's what she thought it means, yeah. Maybe she's now lying about the definitions of words. And then this happened with Sarah Palin. It appears that Michele Bachmann's supporters are now pulling the Sarah Palin move, which is to change Wikipedia articles about history to make it appear that the claims Bachmann made are accurate. So, for example, remember this whole thing where Michele Bachmann said the founding fathers fought to end slavery, when the reality is most of the founding fathers owned slaves. They weren't fighting to end slavery. Slavery ended well after the founding fathers were dead. So she got into a semantic argument about whether or not John Quincy Adams was a founding father, even though he was only a child when his father, John Adams, was who was America's second president, signed the Declaration of Independence. Her supporters are going into Wikipedia and changing the John Quincy Adams article to claim he's a founding father. And it goes, that's not even the most absurd one. Michele Bachmann, you remember, misspoke, saying John Wayne was born in Waterloo, Indiana, when in reality, John Wayne Gacy, the serial killer, lived in Waterloo, Indiana for a while. And the Wikipedia page for John Wayne was changed to make his birthplace Waterloo, Indiana, even though he was born 3 hours away in Winterset, Indiana. But there's a two-sided thing here. Number one, it's frightening that her supporters, like we talked about on the last show, they're committed to believing Michele Bachmann is competent. So when they hear more and more indications of her incompetence, they only protect her more, including by trying to rewrite history, literally rewrite it on the internet. But it's also frightening that Bachmann is making these silly mistakes and then doubling down on them, and she's not being laughed off as a not serious candidate for the Republican Party. I don't know if this speaks worse about Bachmann and her supporters or of the Republican Party as a whole.
Or of people in general.
For all the talk about Palin and Bachmann being completely different, they're both involved in a lot of the same nonsense. They both make stuff up and stick with it when confronted with facts. Their supporters change history on Wikipedia to make their false claims appear to be valid. I see a lot of similarities.